large group instruction and conferencing space, your cafeteria, food court, your support, boiler rooms, things of that nature, your two-story classroom wing, cafeteria, and then marching up through the building, gymnasium, auditorium, library or media center, and then the back of the house would be your performing arts, band, choral, things of that nature, your arts and technical education, and then your physical education at this location. Essentially, we're trying to break the building down really into two main cores, that you have sort of a main commons running through the building, and then you have your two-story academic loop within the building, and then you have a secondary loop at this location running through the building. And then for security purposes, something that we've had a lot of discussion throughout the project is people would come into a locked, secure vestibule and either be buzzed into the administration and then check in and then have access to the facility, or they would be going and using conference space, things of that nature. During the day, the goal was to try to limit the number of people that would be entering the facility during primary school hours. And then we're also looking at after hours for community use. We would have the ability at certain locations to lock entire components of the building down, so that depending on what the function would be, for instance, if you had something going on at the gymnasium in the evening, you would lock these doors, and the entire two-story classroom wing would not be available for security purposes. And then this would be the second floor of the classroom, and we are looking that would essentially stack from one story to the other.
If we simply built a new building behind, it would actually save dollars for the district. It would also have less impact upon the students during construction. One of the large factors that you have in construction of an additions and renovation is, frankly, you have contractors essentially right around students during construction. And while you can phase that, there still is a logistics of affecting education, where if you're building a separate facility behind the existing building, there is obviously an advantage to education. So that's, I think it's really looking at where were we now that the building is 50, 60 years old, in front of you, looking at not only the cost of additions versus renovation, but then also looking at how many dollars are being spent on the facility yearly.
You see that the district is about $4.3 million on an annual basis that they pay for their projects. That drops significantly beginning in the year 2023. So what we are doing when you contemplate the third and fourth column is that we are deferring principal up front, okay, and taking advantage of when the principal goes away in 2023. That's how the district is able to do this and utilize it in today's market. There's a column about the fifth from the right, series 2014 new mills, which shows 0. So again, from careful planning, and I've been doing this a long time, it's very rare that we have the opportunity, that a district has the opportunity to go ahead and structure something like this. And if all the stars align, which they currently have been in the planning that has gone into this project to date from the financial side, that the goal based on today's market rates, again, which we can't predict, but based on today's market rates, they can issue the $40 million worth of bonds and build this project for 0 new mills. You have the 0.136 mills from the indirect cost that we just reviewed on the previous page, and that would be the increase
So I'd
associated
rather
with
see
this
the
financing.
building rehabilitated than torn down and replaced. I've done a number of buildings I've never had any I had to tear down. And I had them condemned on Fifth for human habitation and redid them. I just think the millage seems to go up here every year. And yet now you're saying that almost $50 million won't cause a millage increase for the residents. And our party guys did take a bigger hit in Middletown than you have elsewhere because of what the electric rate used to be. And of course the tax rate increase in this particular council we have now didn't raise the taxes for 2 years, and they cut the budget considerably. And I think there's more ways the school board can handle the whole project than to spend almost $50 million for new school. Thank you.
I too must say that even though I live in the township, I recently had parents who we had to sell a home. I grew up in the borough. So with those people who stood up and spoke this evening about their concerns about property, taxes, etc., I can say that we did help my parents sell a home that was on the market for a year. I can say that while we have concerns as a borough and as townships, I think that our focus really needs to be upon, yes, we need to take those things into consideration, but we must move forward with what the project and what the topic is here this evening, which it is about growing kids and about the business of education. And therefore, I am in support of what is being suggested here this evening.